Hello and welcome to today's Saturday Sit Down. I technically can say tonight because this has been a long day, but I am committed to this Saturday Sit Down. So even though it's late, it's still technically Saturday, so I get credit for that. We had our first board meeting today for Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, and I am really excited. The board members were involved, they had questions, they had some recommendations, they had some things planned for Widowhood Real Talk with Tina. I am glad to have people on the board that are committed to wanting to help people. Each person on the board has experienced grief. They have lost someone, and they are there with a committed heart, and they're there for you. They are part of your widowhood that you don't even know exists, that is intentionally looking to do things for your good. So be excited about that. Two, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your questions. I want to hear your stories. I want you to email me at widowhoodrealtalk@gmail.com. That is widowhoodrealtalk@gmail.com. Send your questions, share your stories, so that can be part of the Saturday sit down. So let's get into it. Yes, I still have paper. The teleprompter thing is not working for me. It seems way complicated. I feel like I'll be spending time staring at that and not be genuine. And these notes are pretty long. So here we go. This week was a conversation with my girlfriend Elizabeth. We worked together at Toby Hanna Army Depot. And it's been a year since I've seen her in person. And it's so weird considering I used to see her every day. But the conversation with her on Zoom was really cool. And I do have a few things that I want to talk about that we discussed. And one of the things she just said, I did not know the level of intensity and commitment Liz had to make sure that people volunteered to leave for me. It wasn't, I guess, anything really aggressive, but she went up to people and let them know my situation and asked them if they would donate leave, starting with her husband. She started in her own house. And I am beyond grateful to think of her level of commitment and her love and her friendship to me to be able to do that. I needed that time. Everybody handles their grief differently. I talk to a lot of people, and after their loved one passed, they want to go right back to work immediately. They want to be busy, they want to be occupied. I didn't want that. I wanted time just to be in my own head. I wanted time to just the reality of it to sink in without the pressures of work every day. I am so grateful for Liz in doing that. And I encourage you, if you're the friend of a person that lost someone, go extraordinary, go big. Do if they say I need XYZ, it may be a stretch, but you could do XYZ. Go out and do it and be phenomenal. Liz asked me what I needed, and I think it was like a conversation. I said, "Girl, what I need is some more leave so I don't have to go back to work." It wasn't a request, it was just something we were talking about. But she took that as a charge to action. She heard what I was saying in our regular conversation and took it with worth. And she went out and made that happen. There are things that the person is sharing with you, or you may be the person grieving. And you may be afraid to be honest and share with people what you need. But this is the one thing, how can they do what you need if you never say it? We are not telepathic. There's no way they're going to know what you need unless you reach out and share and tell them. So, those people that are close, that you trust to be able to share your intimate things with, let them know what you need. You will be surprised. I know I was. I was extremely surprised at Liz's ability to take a notional conversation and produce such a thing. I mean, I was off for 3 months, and I am just overwhelmed to find out now the backside of that story and what that looked like. One of the things that Liz said when we were at work and I was having a rough day, we would walk it out, we would cry it out, and we would talk it out. And it happened just like that. someone would come up to my desk, or I would be in a meeting or something would happen, and I would be triggered. And I was freaking out. I was having an anxiety attack. I couldn't stay in the room. Whether it could have been someone mentioning the word, oh, I know. We would be in the office and someone would say, oh my gosh, my phone died. I would hear the word die, and I would just think of Mark. Just hearing the word, talking about a phone, but hearing that word, something died, I couldn't handle it. I heard that word. It screamed so loud to me throughout the workday. Oh my gosh, this program died. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be over. And every little thing, it felt like um the world was just boom boom contracting in my head, and I would hear something, and I would have to leave a meeting. I would oftentimes go to Liz's desk and it's like, I need to go for a walk. I can't take it right now. And it would start with us walking. Then it would progress to me crying. And then after that, it would be me talking and sharing about what happened. And I want you to know it's okay. It's hard living without the person you love. And it is going to come on you sometimes like a wave. And there's nothing you can do sometimes but just to give into it. You just need a space to do it. You may not want to do it at your desk because someone may be there. For me, it was walking. Maybe it's going to your car. Maybe it's going to the bathroom. Maybe it's going to the lunchroom. But it doesn't just flip off like a switch, your grief, when you go back to work. It's there with us too. And you may need to have one or two safe people that you can go with and spend time with and have those conversations. It may be journaling. It may be going for a walk and being on the phone talking to the person that you trust. But that walk it out, cry it out, talk it out, real thing, real stuff there. I feel like I remember one day that Liz and I were out for a walk, and it was so cloudy, and then as we walked a little further, it seemed like the sun opened up. And I remember sharing with Liz, I feel like that's me. I feel like right now it's really cloudy, it's really gloomy, but in due time, the sky will open up and it will be shiny and it will be a wonderful time. And I believe that in my process, between therapy, between leaning into my grief, leveraging friends and family, and so many other different things that we'll talk about in time, that sky has begun to open up. And that's what I want for you. I want you to always remember your loved one. I want you to live a life that is thriving, not just existing. I want you to go from the cloudy days to more sunshiny days. And my prayers, these conversations that you're having or here with me, will be part of your journey to that. Another thing that Liz said is there is no time limit on how long we grieve. And that is huge. If somebody comes up to you and says, oh, you still sad about that? You don't even have to give them words. They obviously do not understand. If someone comes up to you and says you're not over that yet, I just kind of look at them because I'm thinking you have not had someone you loved really die. Because there's no way you would open your mouth and say something like that. You have no concept of the levels and the degree and the intensity of what I am feeling and how the death of my loved one has altered my life forever. Sometimes, very rarely, may give a person an explanation, but most of the time I just look at them. But it's been very far and few that someone has said that to me, but I hear it often that people have, someone came to them and said, I can't believe you're still grieving. I can't believe you're not moving on. I can't believe it. And they're dumb. They have no concept. They're insensitive and they're wrong. Don't let anyone tell you that. The way you may grieve, as long as you're healthy, you're not hurting yourself, and you're going through that process of that loss, grief looks differently on every person. And the timeline is different on every person and what that looks like. Your grief is the love being poured out for the person that is no longer here. So I am sorry for the insensitivity of the person that came to you. It's late and I'm tired. That has come to you and has said such a thing about why have you not gotten over that yet? That's not fair, and I'm sorry that you had to endure that. Whew, one of the things that Liz talked about was cleaning out different things and giving away items. That was so hard. It has been 6 years and I still have stuff of Mark's. Heck, right here in this room are boxes of items that belong to Mark Cornwall that I have yet to deal with. It's less than what I had in the 2,600 square foot house, but I still have stuff. And those things, those are some mugs and some stuff he had from in Germany, and I'm just not ready to deal with it. So it's in my guest bedroom. I don't have to see it. In time, I will get to that. But it happens little by little, bit by bit. So I just want you to know it's a process. In the idea of needing to clean out, maybe you can get a friend, maybe a family member. There are services now that help people declutter. Maybe having a service that somebody comes over would be less sensitive. So if you had to be very emotional, you wouldn't feel uncomfortable because it's literally a stranger. There's nothing emotionally invested in that. But give yourself maybe a little bit of time every day. But the part about cleaning up is giving you space that you're living in, that you start creating it for yourself. When Mark and Catherine and Alexander were all out of the house, I did so much repurposing of things in the house. It was not like buying a lot of stuff, but it was taking something from one area of the house and putting it someplace else. What used to be Alexander's bedroom turned into the guest room. Catherine's bedroom turned into my office prayer study room. I redecorated the bedroom. I changed dishes in the kitchen because I went from a four-person house to a one-person house, and I needed to make that my own space. But cleaning out Mark's items was a huge part of that. Like I said, it happened piece by piece, and it's still happening. I still have some items. So give yourself grace in that process as you go along doing that, and little by little. Another thing is finding a support group. And Liz has gotten divorced and found her own support group. But she leveraged that from looking at my loss and making a bit of that her journey. A support group is so cool. Um, a couple of months ago, I did an interview with Kelly Hunter on her podcast, and she's going to do one on mine. And Kelly was part of the support group that I was in when Mark passed away. We don't talk as much as we did, but oh my gosh, that first year for me, we talked so much. It was so helpful to connect with someone else that was going through the situation with me and going through it with purpose. Kelly still has her struggles. You'll hear from her on the podcast. I have mine. It's not that it makes it go away, but it lets you know that you're not alone, that there is someone else that can understand what it is that you're going through. That support group was huge for me. I have a friend that is a therapist. I was able to assist her in a support group that she established. During COVID, it was a little bit different. She was used to having in office support groups, and she asked me, would I be willing to help her? And I was like, sure. And some of those women I still connect with today from that support group. And then when my girlfriend Allison came to me, she said, "You're not doing good." And I realized I needed more. And I found a support group here in the Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake area with Grief Share. You are going through a lot. And it's so helpful to have people that are trained, that are knowledgeable, and that can help guide you through the process. Because for me, sometimes the unknown is worse than going through something that I know. And having a guide with the grief support group was so helpful to be able to let me know that what I was experiencing as a widow, as someone grieving, was natural. And knowing that it was natural took some of the stress off. I felt like I was trying to rush through to get to the other side. Like if I made it to the 1 year mark, check, I would no longer grieve anymore. Yeah, that ain't how it worked. It happens in some form or fashion, probably for the rest of my life. But that intense part, that that intensity and that in the beginning, and watching over that and understanding when grief comes and what to do, all those tools that I learned in grief support group, I think you may find those helpful. So I would encourage you to look up grief share, look up grief support groups in your area and see what the options are, and let me know if you find a good grief support group, so then I can share that with the rest of the widowhood and find different places where people can go. No matter where you are in the world, let us know. We have people throughout the world watching Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, the Saturday Sit Down, the Wednesday Widowhood Tip in our podcast, and we want to make sure that people are equipped with good information. Okay, so that thing about the women of color, we're gonna talk about that. I was in the break room warming up something for lunch, and this gentleman comes in, European, and my late husband was European. And he comes up to me and says, "Hey, Liz." And I turn around and I look at him, and I'm like, "Is Liz in here and I don't see her?" And he goes, "Oh, you hear me talking and you're not going to say anything?" And I was like, "Is he serious? Is he serious?" I am like 5'9". Liz is not 5'9". Liz is a little bit fair skinned. I have more melon on me. And I just said, "I am not Elizabeth." And he goes, "Yes, you are. Quit playing." And I was like, somebody punking me. There is a camera somewhere here on the depot in the break room. They trying to see if I'm going to pop off on him. And he says, "Oh, you're Liz. Quit playing." And I was like, "Okay, Tina, we're not going to mess with him." And I just said, "Whatever you want to think," or something like that. And I left out. And I called Elizabeth. And I was like, "Girl, I'm in the break room. And someone is just going to call me your name and tell me that I'm you." For my people out here that are in your own world and you're not dealing with people of color, we do not all look alike. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. We're better than that. And I am sad that that person did not do better, because he didn't even, it was literally one of those cliches, all black people look alike, and that's where he was going. And I was sad for him that he did not take the time to see the difference of who we were and just do something like that. And in this day and time, this is still something that we were dealing with as people. So I encourage you to see people who they are, see them in the face, and we do not all look alike. Another thing that Liz talked about was trying to have children and the numerous miscarriages that she had. I was not aware of that. But I do know before our daughter Catherine, I had a miscarriage. We thought I was like about 3 months long. I remember going to the doctor's appointment and Mark couldn't go because he had to go to work. And I was like, "Well, I'll get pictures and I'll show you everything." And there was no heartbeat. And I was devastated. That was the first big loss in my life, dealing with that miscarriage. I remember walking out of that doctor's office just numb, just trying to figure out, where do I go from here? What do I say? What does it look like? Why was I feeling embarrassed because I had a miscarriage, and trying to understand what that would look like, because we had told everybody we were having a baby, to then feel like I was a broken toy and we no longer were having a child. I remember one day being outside of our house, changing my license plate and just digging in the dirt aimlessly for about 15, 20 minutes, losing myself in that process and not being able to focus. And then, if that wasn't enough, I had to have a DNC afterwards, and I just felt so horrible. And that wasn't even a child that I met, a person I spent any time with. That was the grief of the love that I didn't get to express to a child. Eventually, we did have children, Catherine and Alexander, but that miscarriage was difficult. It was difficult to think about being pregnant again after that experience. But we wanted children, and so we did. But it was very hard and difficult. So if you've had a miscarriage, I am sorry for you having to endure that, but I am glad that you are still here. And in the idea of still having more love to give, and that one hardship not being the thing that stops you from wanting to love, one of the things that Liz talked about was dating. Whoo, child, that is a subject after your spouse passes. And to the extent that I'm going to have a full conversation about dating, I have the possibility of having conversations with a couple of men talking about dating widows. And then I have a friend, her and I are going to have a conversation about being widows and dating. That's going to be a little bit down the road. I don't want to kind of unpack that here because there is a lot with that. But rest assured, we will have the conversation. Liz sharing about her mom pinning her when she got promoted was so sweet. To think that her mom wanted to be in the military and she vicariously lived through Elizabeth was cool. I remember when I was promoted a couple of times and Mark was there and he pinned on my rank. I was so excited about that. And if you're in the military and you have opportunity for your family to be part of your military journey, I encourage you to do that. One of the things that we talked about with my sister Yolanda, since I was an officer in the military, that I was able to reenlist her one time. And that was pretty cool, walking on the Navy ship with my Army officer uniform on, and them going, why is somebody from the Army here? Because that's how we roll, hoorah. But there for my sister. So I am such a military person. Our youngest sister was in the Marines and our dad was in the Air Force. So we have literally covered all of the services. And if you have been in the military, thank you for your service. There's a very small percentage in the whole United States that serves in the military. And we're pretty cool for that. Another thing that Liz spoke about was her ability to leverage her own experiences with grief to be there for me. And that, to the most part, is what I am doing, leveraging my grief experience to be here for you. That this was an opportunity for Liz to take her pain and make it purposeful. And right now, it may have been recently that your loved one passed, and the concept of that seems just ludicrous. It seems unreal. You're trying to figure out just how to keep your eyes open after crying all night. And if someone would have told me 6 years ago that this is what I would be doing today, I would have said, no way, Jose. But yet, here I am. That we can give people help with the help that we have received. So, in due time, it's not something you have to rush, but when you're ready, you'll be able, I'm sure, to be able to leverage your pain to be able to be purposeful to help someone else. And it'll be exciting. You'll look back and go, wow, I was able to help somebody. When I look at the comments on the different social where we're posting information and seeing where people feel like they were by themselves, they didn't have someone to love them, they didn't have a way to connect, but now they found this forum, it lets me know that this is what I should be doing with my pain and make it purposeful. And I encourage you, when you're ready, to be able to do the same. Don't always speak with everyone. I think that has to do with the idea that everything that's in my head, I cannot say all the time. There is some pretty graphic stuff being a widow or a widower that everyone's not really made to be able to handle. And I had to start monitoring that to make sure that when I did share, it was in a space that was going to be productive and worthwhile. Some of the things that came to my mind were best suited for only being in my journal because everybody could not handle what I was experiencing and what I was thinking. There's one more thing I feel like there is. Oh, I am grateful that the government has a volunteer leave program. I am grateful for every person that donated leave to me. I am grateful for the opportunity to exist that I could be able, because of the kindness and the generosity of other people, be able to stay home for a few months and get myself together and then return to work. I am grateful for every friend, every person, every family member that called, that texted, that gave some bit of support and was there for me emotionally, physically, financially. I have no idea how I would be able to do this. I want you to know that we're at the end of April. We will be done sharing my story. My intent was to share my story through the voices of myself, my family members, and friends. And then we're going to start having guests who are widows and widowers sharing their story, sharing their journey with you. So if you're interested in being on the podcast, send me an email at widowhoodrealtalk@gmail.com, because your story has the capacity to encourage and inspire somebody else. Thanks for being here and have a good night. Bye.